Right. Well, welcome back. I feel like it's been an eternity since we were last here. We've had a busy stud season, although we already feel like we're gearing up for the next stud season. So welcome back. Again, I'm always amazed at how many people have joined our webinars. COVID's over now, and maybe people are out drinking at the pubs a bit more, but we've still got a great lot of people tonight. I think there's over 250 people have signed up for this webinar from all over the world. So I really appreciate you logging on. So thank you so much tonight for coming to us. So tonight we've got a great team as per normal with us, which is just fascinating. It really makes us these webinars. We've got Desiree all the way from Holland, who's going to be giving her years of knowledge about the stallion breeding side. I mean, there really isn't anything she doesn't know when it comes to handling, freezing, and so on, when it comes to the stallion side. And obviously, our other fantastic and great friend who's been doing these webinars for quite some time, put so much knowledge into it, is Bart Kools from Shock Mothers in Germany. So we've got a real international crowd yet again. And Bart Kools, well, he doesn't take much introduction. As anybody know him, he's usually up at 3 o'clock in the morning, collecting off his first stallion, usually about 4 o'clock. And yeah, it does, again, a wealth of knowledge. So it's great to have you both on board today. We've got Faye to my right, or to your left, most probably. Say hi, Faye.
Hello, everyone.
Faye will be answering any of your questions that come in, so please get those questions coming in. Try and keep them fairly topical if we can on Semen Assessment. We're always quite nice to hear where you're from, and we always give you a shout out. The first shout out is actually to Kate, who promised us that she'd be watching this from home. So we want to see if she really is. So let's see if she puts something in the chat or not. But anybody out there, wherever you are, give us a shout out, what countries you're from. I think it's always great to hear where you are. So questions and answers as we're going back. So, tonight, obviously, we always do this for charity. So if you do feel you got something out of this, we will be putting a code on it at the end, or you can go onto Nature's Safe website, and if you can do a small donation, that would be fantastic. And that's saving animals from extinction by using these cryopreservation techniques. And also we can't forget our sponsor tonight is NAF. The 5-star fertility, the stallion supplement, which is quite brilliant for helping those stallions with maybe poorer quality semen, but all those ones with good quality semen to get them slightly better. So yeah, it's really great to have your support, and this stuff really does work. But the main thing tonight we're going to be talking about is the iSperm, and we're going to be going through that. So we're going to be talking all about how to use the iSperm and Semen Assessment. But we're going to throw a poll at you quite early on tonight. It's just quite interesting. We've always run these webinars at 7 o'clock in the evening. I'd just like to hear from your point of view. Does this suit you? Is 7 o'clock good? I know in Europe it's 8 o'clock, and in the Middle East it's most probably about 10 o'clock. But would you prefer them more in the mornings, the afternoons, the evenings, or the weekends? You might press that pump. So just if you can just do that for our information, it'd be just great to find out, because if we do think it's better in the afternoons or a bit earlier in the evening, we can soon alter that, because we want to try and see what is the best time for yourself. So that's really the other thing. Is we've got behind the camera, we've got my daughter India.
Hello.
So it's her first one of these webinars, but her second one that she did one yesterday. So if things don't quite go to plan, we've got someone to blame.
Oh, thanks.
Also we can't forget Pam, who's our lab manager. Pam has been flat out today. We've had a training course in today, and I think we've had some epididymal sperm that came through at about sort of 3:30, 4 o'clock this afternoon. She's been with. I think you're still freezing it now, so yes. We should do a webinar on epididymal sperm. Actually, that's a reminder. And we can't forget, not least, is Amy behind the scenes. She's doing all the videos in the background, putting the slides up and making sure it's running smoothly. So it is very much a team effort, this. So thank you for joining us. So have we got the polls come through, the answers yet on that? So evening webinar, weekend. So everyone's liking the week. Perfect. Well, that is good to know. So
morning on a Monday in the middle of the stud season,
yes,
might not be the best.
So it looks like we're doing it at the right time. So perfect. That's always good to know. So right, what tonight's about? We do so many of these webinars about stallions, about management and that side of it. But actually, semen assessment to me is one of the fundamental sides of you running any stud. If you can't assess semen or don't assess the semen prior to putting it into a mare or prior to sending it out, you don't know what that quality is going to be like, and so it's really important how we assess it. So I know there's going to be different people on these webinars with different experience. We are going to slightly go back to basics. But we're going to give you the fundamental ways of assessing semen and why it's so important. It really is. So, and we're going to be talking about doses. How much sperm should we put in a dose for a fresh semen, for a chilled semen, and for a frozen? And that side, maybe thaw some frozen semen out as well. What we look for in semen assessment, all the different ways we can assess semen, and especially using this amazing tool, the iSperm. Oh yes, I forgot to say tonight. There's a special offer. We're giving £150 off anybody who orders it up till Saturday. I think that's.
I think that was a Black Friday deal.
Yeah, but going on till Saturday.
Yeah. Well,
yes. I don't know where they have them in Germany.
Saturday.
Yeah. So there is that deal there for just until Saturday evening. If you were interested, this is a great deal to do. So we're going to do some live demonstrations of semen assessment and using a hemocytometer and the other apparatuses that you might have out there as well. And really to look at the, it's really important to analyze the semen, because if you don't know what you're looking at when you're sending it out, it's really important that the client at the other end has got a lot of faith in you, that you know that you've been analyzing that semen properly. So why bother assessing semen? Moving on. I mean, to start with, I think I might just go straight into Bart, because Bart's been doing this for a long time. And why is it so critical that we analyze the semen really prior to it, maybe even insemination, Bart?
First of all, good evening, everybody. It is very important to this stuff because we need to know what we get from the stallion. Then we can see how we can keep it on a high level of quality, the quality we get, and then to see how we can make it going on or stay on a level that we need for insemination to get the pregnant mare. Because at the end of the day, the only customer who is happy is the customer with the pregnant mare. So we have to do a good job and make sure that we know exactly what we get from the stallion and how we use this and how much we can use of this.
And Desiree?
For assess semen, yeah, you want to know what the quality is, and even every small detail can make a difference on semen quality. So if you don't see it, if you don't check it through the older process, after collection, after centrifugation, after freezing, and before insemination, you want to know what you put into the mare, and exactly what Bart already said, only a pregnant mare counts.
And Desiree, why is it important? You brought up one quite interesting thing there. You were analysing the semen through the process. Why is that so important to do?
Yeah, because you have to, if you work with semen, you have to improvise a lot. And sometimes you do something and you feel that you can make a difference, even a small difference. Change the extender, change the centrifugation rate, use the AquaPure, all these kinds of things what you can do to make the semen protect the semen actually as good as possible to get a good quality of semen, what you send away or what you freeze, if you can send it away to the customers.
Yeah, because there are certain stages you'll suddenly see some semen that's good, maybe at the beginning, but after your centrifugation, it might not look so good. So it might be the centrifugation process. So yes, it is important to look at the different as you process it through that sort of
yeah,
process.
and also for the breeders, you know, if you get the semen inside and you want to check the semen, be aware you have a warming table. Be aware if you use the microscope, you know, we transport semen all over Europe and it's cold. You know, if it's coming at your place, be aware you have a warming table, or the iSperm who's got a warming table already inside. So that's the warming table is very important if you want to check the motility rate actually.
So yeah, and I know a lot of you might think, of course, this is obvious. We should assess semen, of course, but I can promise you there's a lot of people who don't. I'll give you some scenarios where you send the semen out. They might AI the mare. She doesn't get in foal. She doesn't get in foal the second time. By the third time you analyze the semen, you suddenly see actually it's not very good. Now, was it the first time when you didn't analyze it, the mare didn't get in foal? Was it no good? And you probably don't know. So it's really important you check the semen right the way through. So I think what we'll do now, because there's so much to go through tonight, I think we'll start off on the microscope and just the basics of the very basics of analysing semen when we start. So when you generate, and I know we don't, the beauty about having Desiree and Bart here, we don't always necessarily, we agree on most things, but there's some little things we do differently as we go. But when you first come into you get your semen from the stallion, do you analyse it straight away raw, or do you extend it out, Desiree, to look at it first?
I never check raw. I always extend it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so when we come here, I just need a fresh slide. So when we get these slides, and I'm just going to show you a few little tips, and you may have seen this before. The size of the droplet we tend to use is 10 microliters. What do you use? Anything different, Bart or Desiree, or do you tend to use the same size?
I use a little bit smaller because of my glasses on the slide are a little bit smaller. My glasses are 0.8 to 0.8, so I use 0.8. You use 1 because you have, I think your glass is a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that's English, yeah. English people are right on the wrong side of the road as well. They always have something different.
Yeah, we could afford the bigger slides, but these are the fundamental little bits that I can promise you make the difference between you analysing semen properly or not. So you want a standard size droplet. Have to admit, years ago I used to put a big drop on the slide, and it's it always, when you've got lots of semen on, it's very hard to analyse. So we tend to use 10 microliters, but it's important the cover slide is 22 by 22 mil if you're using that standard size droplet. You got any questions coming in? Right, so which one are we looking at, Pam?
You can look at that first one.
This one here?
Yep.
So
the green.
The green. So the main thing is when you get the semen, sometimes it's good to give it a bit of a mix, just in case it goes down to the bottom. But we go down and get 10 microliters, and we put it on the slide. Let it drop on nicely. This is the interesting bit. I'm going to try and do, I don't know whether this is going to work or not, but I'm going to try and show you something tonight. So I'm going to put another 10 microliters on the other side of the slide. And I'm going to get the cover slides. Now these cover slides, these cover slides are quite thin, so always handle them on the edge. All right. And just let that drop on there. What I am going to do, I'm going to put my lucky little fingers. If I was just, I know it's a bit of an over exaggeration, but if I was to put my fingers on it on the slide by mistake and you pick them up, just want to show you what will happen, the difference. Exactly the same semen. So there we have some semen swimming along there. And basically this is 10 microliters. So the beauty about this, we can see what is live and what is dead in here. So you can pick out the ones.
It's not dead, it's not moving.
It's all dead.
No.
So can you see that now? Go right up to India.
It's good moving.
Yeah, it's okay. It's going now.
I just say it's not dead because everybody say it's dead. We don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
It's dead if you make a collar. Then you
Yeah.
can say it's dead or alive. That's why I say it's not dead. It's not moving. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So what we tend to look for is a more or less than 50% moving there. So that's what we tend to look for, is the more than 50%. And with this, I would say there's most probably slightly less than 50%. But is there more or less than 25%? I'd say there'd be more than 25. And we can soon break down how this semen assessment works on that. If we were to look at the other slide, I don't know if it's going to show it, but
Can show you
Actual fingers.
Let's show your fingers.
That's what your finger, yeah.
yeah, we can just show you. Just look how bad that is.
Yeah.
And this is the difference between if you just get your fingers on there, what the difference can make. Right. Have you got any chilled stuff? Come on. Oh, is that some here?
Yes.
Right. I'll have a look at that.
But this is exactly what we always say. It's not to make something very good, but it is very important because you make a lot of steps not to make too much mistakes, because every mistake is going down the quality of the semen. If it is if you work in one line and always proper the same line, you will always get good quality of semen at the end.
That's correct. So there we go. There's some fresher stuff that we collected today. So you can have a look at that. So you can see that I see the two lots of difference with the semen. So this is obviously much better quality semen. And there's obviously more than 50% moving there. There's we'd most probably give that round about sort of 70% roughly. Okay, India, that's fine. But the other thing that we want to note is when you're analysing semen, never analyse semen on the edge of the slide. So we've got the same semen here. I'll try and probably the stuff is still pretty good. Always look at 2 or 3 places on the slide. So when you go in, if you look at the edge of a slide, the semen is never very motile at all. So it's important that you look at, that's right on the edge of the slide. And if we go into the middle of the slide, look at the difference. And sometimes you can come in quite rushed into a, from a collection, and you can suddenly put a bit on there, not have a proper look at it or place it. And sometimes it cannot be very good on there. So the other side, so we'll just look at this frozen semen, and then we can look at the difference between the two. We get can you, Desiree and Bart, are you okay? Are you seeing these motilities okay when we're going up?
Yeah, a bit. A bit is the light, yeah. But it's, yeah, we can see.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's the other one. And you've got quite a few.
But this is defrozen or not?
This is the frozen one. This is the frozen one.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see this is the frozen one. And then if I move it across.
Maybe don't go so
close
to the camera, because then
I'll come back a bit. Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
That's better. Okay.
Much better.
So to start with, we always say is that more or less than 50% moving there, and there's obviously more on that. So we'll be obviously quite happy with that sample. But I think with this one, stay there, India. And when you look at the semen under a slide, Desiree, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for first what you say, how many percent is moving, and then you take a percent of it, and then you look at the way how they're moving. I want to have them a nice straightforward line, and not too much shaking and not too much round around the body, because I don't like the rounds around the body. Big rounds I don't mind, because you see that often after certification. But rounds around the body, you know, that they are a little bit crazy, I really don't like. So you follow some lines and you follow some semen where the lines is going.
Yeah, yeah. And Bart,
Please.
what do you when you look for semen? What when you see a nice sample on there? What are the sort of things that you really look for when you're on there?
If I'm looking at the semen, I look exactly like they say at the movement, the straight movement, the fastness, how fast they move. If they are too slow, it's not good. Sometimes they even move backwards, so that you have to check if it's okay or not. And what I like a lot to see if they are moving with good tails and everything, that they go straight and more forward. What I don't like is but that we don't see so much because we wash the stallions before collect. Some people don't do this, and then you will see that you can see in the microscope a lot of small stuff inside where the sperms are going through. So that's why we wash the stallions. So because then if you get too much other cells inside, the semen will go to these cells because they think it's an egg, and that we don't want. So I like clean semen, good movement, and then we can make a decision how good it is.
Yeah.
And
okay.
if I assist semen, I always do 3 drops. You do, so you do only 1 drop?
Yeah, you beat me to it. 3 drops.
Yeah.
Come on,
Excuse me.
Tell me why you do 3 drops, Desiree.
Yeah, because you hardly, if you do 3 drops, and sometimes you see a really difference between those 3, and you have to get an average from it. And yeah, I always do 3 drops so that I'm quite sure that, yeah, I stay objective to the stallion.
Keep talking and I'll do the 3 drops, Desiree.
Yeah, because it's very important to and you are really amazed how many difference you can have between those 3 drops. I'm really amazed at every time. So
So I have to admit, we only do this when we're doing our post-store freezing.
Yeah.
We don't do it when we do our fresh to start with. For our post-store, we do. So we literally do 3 drops. 10 microliter drops on the slide, and like that. And the way the camera can pick them up or at all, but you can see the 1, 2, 3 with the cover slides on, and then we can put them underneath, and then have a look. So we might start off with one that looks very good, and you might say, if you come a bit closer, you might say, okay, that's sort of 45%. You might look at this one and you might say, oh, that's only 35%. There's a bit of an air bubble moving there. Don't you see the air bubble coming in?
Yeah, see the light air bubbles, yeah?
Yeah, so be careful. Yeah, they love the air bubbles. And always remember the air bubble.
Yeah.
it lifts the slide ever so slightly. So this one isn't so good. And this one, yeah, maybe 35 or 30. But always look in different places. There we go, maybe 35, 40. So you might give it an average over them all, about 40% or something. So yeah, Desiree's spot on. It's always good to look at 3 different droplets, ideally on the slide, and you can have a look right the way through. Yeah.
Question from Samantha Castle. Why do you think there is such a difference between the drops? Is there any reason in particular, or just one of those weird nature things?
It's I'll go first, and I'll let Desiree then answer. I think it's just one of those weird things. I can't explain it. Why it's different from drop to drop. Have you got a reason why it might be, Desiree?
No, I'm not. I really don't know. I really don't know why there's any difference. I don't know.
And I admit,
But
most of the time
really
it's
surprised.
not.
Yeah. Excuse me?
I say most of the time there isn't much of a difference, but sometimes you do.
Yeah.
And I always think if you get semen that doesn't look very good quality, straight away have another drop and have another look at it. So, right, we're going to come on to a bit about the frozen side and what is in a dose and everything after we've done the iSperm. But before we go on to that, so one of the main things we look at is motility. What sort of quality, Bart, if you're sending out, do you have a minimum standard for chilled that you like the motility to be before you send it out?
If I use chilled, then I think it's important, because if you use so it's important to know where it's going. If I give chilled away from the same day, maybe it's okay if I put 60%, because if it's in the morning and in the evening it's there, maybe it's 50%. If I know it's for over the night, for 24 hours, so I have to give away 60, 70, 80%, because during this traveling 24 hours, you will lost about 15 to 20%. And finally, to get it in the mare, you need at least 50 to 60%.
Right, yeah. So, no,
Yeah, and then I have, yeah.
With chilled. With
Yeah.
frozen, you can go down to 35, 40%.
And of course
there, because there you are, it's the difference between freeze and chilled. If you have freeze, you work very fast, and you inseminate the mare after 5 years, but the semen is moving only for maybe 2 hours before you defreeze and put in the mare. If you put chilled and you ship it away, it's maybe 36 hours away. So therefore, they lost a lot of energy, and therefore you need more good semen giveaway to get the pregnancy rate high.
Yeah.
No,
and sometimes you have stallions what the quality is not so good for the motility rate, and if you only look at the motility rate. But always contact the stud owner, because the stallion owner knows exactly how the stallion is, and if the stallion is very fertile, you can have fantastic motility but not a total fertile stallion, and you can have very bad motility and the stallion is as fertile as it gets. So yeah, it's a little bit yeah,
okay. And now that's good to know all that. The next thing, so if you were going to go, we talked a bit about motility, we'll talk about doses and how much you should get in a dose a bit later. And I appreciate we're going to move on quite a bit now. What's the next thing? If you were to say, right, it's got to have motility, what would you say is the next most important thing when you're looking at quality of semen? Would you say to thinking that it's good enough to get good pregnancy results? What's the next thing that you tend to look at?
viability.
If you have the machine,
I'm glad you said that, Desiree.
if you have the machine, you take the viability.
Yeah,
viability
is more important than motility. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So we are not sponsored by the nuclear counter, CASA. I'm just telling you now, they've not paid us, but we're coming a bit closer to India. So Pam's going to demonstrate what we do. So maybe Bart or Desiree, do you want to explain, rather than me explain it, a bit about what the nuclear cell counter does and why viability is so important?
I can explain. The nuclear cell counter, it's a counter, so he counts the cells of the semen. So you get an amount of total semen per ml. And then the second step, what he do, he measure the non-viability semen, and he makes a small bit of fluid, a small collar.
Just hold on, Amy, can you do a split screen there, because so Pam can be doing the viability as Bart's talking. That's it. Yeah, great. Okay, carry on. Yeah, carry on, Bart. So
and then we make first a total with a reagent, with a fluid, and then with another with PBS, we make the non-viability, and then there is a formula that you can take. That is the if you have not it on a computer, the nuclear counters say your amount of total sperms. Then you get an amount of non-viability. So that is the total sperms minus the non-viability, and then diluted by the total sperms against 100%. And then you know exactly, maybe say 40, 45, 35, 39% of viability. So the nuclear counter tells you the non-viability, And if you make this with this formula I just say, then you have exactly the viability sperms. It means that the membrane and the head and everything are fine for this. And they are very important to get into the mare's head.
Yeah, no, I think so. Bart says this is, to me, it's as if not more important than motility. We see stallions with very poor viability, but very good motility, and they generally, the pregnancy results aren't as good. If they've got good viability, they tend to have much better pregnancy results with this. So Ham's just put one in here. We just demonstrated it. We'll show you on the screen in a second. Can I do any bigger on that screen? No, I don't think it does. So if you just come over here, so what it does, it counts up all the dots. So you can see all the dots on here. They're all sperm cells. So it's telling us there's 93 million sperm per mil. And then it works out a viability, and it comes, and that's total. That's all the sperm that are in there. Then it goes back, and then it says what is non-viable. And then we can do a calculation here. And it's saying 44% are viable of those sperm cells. So it's a very accurate way of saying what is good and what is bad when it comes to viability. Okay, so this.
And if you are freezing or defreeze and you have this result, and the motility is looking like 35 or 40, and you have 44 in the viability, for quite sure they make pregnancy.
Yeah,
if it's
so
the opposite way, you look for 45% and you get a viability of 35, most of the time they will not get a good pregnancy.
Yeah, and quite often, I don't know whether you see it, quite often the motility quite often matches up with the
Exactly.
viability.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was giving that about 40-45% that stuff before, and it's come up at 44% viable. So that tells you on there.
Yeah.
But one thing before we're going to go on to the iSperm now, because obviously we're talking about that and how we actually measure this. One thing before we go any further, on semen extenders, how important that is, and we have got some quality semen extenders, stuff that Desiree does, and we use it in our lab. I have to say it's a very new extender out in the market. It's a very clear extender, so anybody who wants to try a new extender, these work really, really, really well. So
yeah, that's good that you say it's clear, because now I used a little bit of this, and then the customers are calling, what's happening with the extender? I don't get, or with the semen, I don't get semen because it's not this white stuff what they are used to.
yeah.
So that is and then we explain it's the extender, but the equine people are used to get white or yellow-white stuff, but if it is clean or clear like this one, it is still good semen inside.
Yeah, and
yeah, but they think it's nothing inside. They think it's water.
Yeah. but for centrifugation, I'm not just saying this because it is brilliant, because you can see the layers between the semen and the supernatant. So when it comes to centrifugation, I have to say, you can't beat it. So
is it made by its name's Quality Extender?
Cool. Is that a question coming?
Yes,
we had a question coming, Desiree, who makes this extender? Can you answer that question, please, for me?
You can go to my website. Yeah, but you know, the extender, I of course, the qualities, I like it because I work a lot with it and it's clear. And it, like Tullis is saying, you can see the pellet directly. But in the end, the stallion will always decide which extender is the best. So, and the beautiful part on the quality is that you can, I guess you can use it for centrifugation, and if he's doing afterwards better in another extender, you can compare those two because there's no egg involved, and you can use all the extenders what you want. But it's a good extender. Yeah.
Yeah, Shirley likes on it. She said, "Hi Shirley. More details on the extenders. It's shipped cool or frozen, and she wants to know the costs as well."
Oh God.
You can send me an email, no worries.
Yeah, I'll get back to you, Shirley, on that one. Don't worry, I'll catch up with you tomorrow morning on that one. Shirley's a good friend of ours, Desiree. So, but yeah, for centrifugation, it's great. Well, it's great for shipping semen as well. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a few questions from Harriet come in. Hi, Harriet. She's just said once semen's frozen and it's been kind of thawed out, can it be refrozen?
Well, we've just done a trial on that actually. So it can, but the pregnant results aren't very good on it, so to speak. So it can be done. We've done a research on this and done a thawing on it, but we haven't done pregnancy results on it. So
yeah, but normally you can do with only maybe 4 or 5% of the stallions.
yeah,
The other ones don't do. The other ones don't work.
And why should you? Because, you know, I always try to get a little bit feeling with those cells. And let's say you're a little cell, yeah, you're gonna freeze. That's an whole process. Yeah, you're gonna freeze, and it's getting, and then you are gonna fall again, and then you have to freeze again. You know, I'm very sensitive, so it depends on what kind of sensitive stallions there are, and those sensitive cells. Why should you freeze 2 times? I don't see any good in this. No.
The only reason at the end is that somebody wants to make money with it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Just it has nothing to do with reproduction or semen. It's somebody somewhere around the world who have some semen and wants to make it more profit for himself. Nothing else.
no,
I don't know another reason.
no, brilliant. Right, Amy, you better come in here because you're going to do the iSperm now, and you know, we've talked to some very basics so far, and I know it sounds basic, but it's really important. Putting that 10 microliter droplet, or if you have a smaller cover slide on, obviously a smaller droplet, it's really important you get the size of the cover slide with the amount of semen you do. And warm stage, yes. Desiree did mention that. It's really important that semen's warmed up properly to 37 degrees. But we are, if you come over here now, India, I'm going to leave the floor, well, not leave the floor. There's lots of different ways we've shown it, but this might have to come around here a little bit more. This is the iSperm. The iSperm I've been working on for many years now, and it can really take the hassle out of you if you're not too sure what the quality is. There's ones for bovine, there's ones for canine. There's all different ones out there. But tonight we're going to talk about the one for the equine. But Amy's our guru here. Bart and Desiree can supply these out in Europe for you. But anyway, take it away, Amy. Show us what this amazing bit of apparatus can do. Because it is really important. This works really well, but if it's handled wrong, like anything, it won't give you the result that you want. So,
hi everybody. Anybody who's got an iSperm or who has asked any questions about iSperm, chances are you've spoken to me at some point. So hello, thank you for joining. Yeah, so the iSperm is a fabulous little bit of kit. It's basically your CASA system shrunk down on an iPad. So it doesn't get much more simple than that. It does loads and loads of species. You only need to buy one hardware iSperm package, and then you can add species on after that. So you can have one iPad with multiple species on it. So it's brilliant if you're wanting to do one alongside the other. So we'll get straight into it. I'll show you how it works. So you want to come over in here. So in your iSperm pack, which is this like little briefcase.
Go through the pack in a minute.
Yeah, we'll show you the pack in a minute. But in your briefcase, you'll get your backing cover. It doesn't come with the iPad, so you do need to buy the iPad separately, but it comes with everything else.
And which iPad should they be buying?
You want an iPad Mini 6 at the moment. When Apple eventually release another iPad Mini, then the producers of iSperm will create a new case that we can fit on the back, and you can carry on using your software. So it's all fine if it wants to upgrade. Because it's an application software, if there are any changes to be made, it's not like a piece of equipment that needs to be fine-tuned or have anybody sent out to calibrate. It automatically pushes through on the App Store. So once you've got it, the upgrades are free. It will keep going for you. So you'll get your little sample collector that will come in your pack. And all we do, it's a little light, it's a little microscope, whether or not you can see that with the little light. And all I've done is it comes with a little cap. So we take the cap, pop it on the end. You can use these with the pipettes they provide, which are little squeezy pipettes, but they recommend, and we recommend, to get yourself one of these, a pipette that we use here. We don't use anything else. This is the most accurate way of using them. So you want 7.5 microliters of sample.
7.5.
Yeah.
7.5 microliters, yeah, that's right. So again, we want to invert the sample. This has been sat for all day, so hopefully it still looks okay. But you want to make sure you don't shake your sample too much. If there's lots of bubbles in the sample, then it can affect the reading on the machine. So it's only like on the microscope, it's exactly the same as you saw when Tullis put it on. If there's a bubble that floats past, it can affect the result. So we just pipette my 7.5 microliter straight onto the end.
Need a steady hand.
I know, thank you, Tullis. Give it a little tap, which just spreads the drop evenly over the top. Then you can turn it upside down, it won't fall off. We do get people panic, they're going to get semen everywhere, but you won't. Click it into your cover cap, which are these little caps on the bottom. Now, you must be careful. Tullis mentioned earlier, if you touch cover slides, you'll get a fingerprint on the end of your cover slide. It's exactly the same with this. If you push the cap on with your thumb, you'll have a fingerprint. So we don't want that. Make sure your light's on. And then all we do is we screw it into the back of the iSperm like this. Make sure it's on a stand, on a flat surface. It comes with its own stand, so you don't have to worry about that. Then we just go for analyze now. I'm going to turn a little chip. So you can see here, this little triangle, this is for me and my benefit, so I can locate which way it's facing. So we'll face it upwards, and you can see the sperm cells there whizzing around. And all I'm going to do is ask it to start analysis. I say this semen's been sat out most of the day today, so I'm hoping it's still looking okay. Well, what we do now with iSperm, this is a little upgrade they've given, is they want you to rotate the iSperm, so my little chip turn there, 90 degrees in 4 directions. It gives you an average of all 4 of those directions. So it's the same as when we look at 3 different drops or all the way around the slide to give you an average reading. So again, that's giving me the same amount. I'm going to complete analysis, you can see it on a bigger screen. So this has worked out the concentration around about 33 million per mil. So it's got an ideal range it wants to view the iSperm. It's the same with the main CASA system. If you put a really, really dense drop of semen, it will reject it and say the concentration is too high. So it will view a raw sample for you. So you can have a look, see if it's motile, at the very least, see if it's alive. But if you want to do progressive motility and if you want to do your dosage calculation, you must dilute it down to between 10 to 75 million per mil. It's a little bit different with cows and with canine and things like that, but those are all of it's explained in its user manual. So going forward, you can see on here now, you've got your little recorded video, which will also draw the sperm tracks on for you because it's at a low enough concentration that it can be read. So it's given me a motility of 81% and a progressive motility of 78%. Yeah, so the sperm tracks on here, as you can see, all these little wiggly lines, it's showing you which sperm are going in a straight line, which are motile but not necessarily moving in a straight line, and ones that are dead. So this is really, really handy if you are a stallion owner and you have maybe a client querying semen quality. You've got some video recorded proof almost basically that your semen, your sample was fine when you tested it or fine when you looked at it in the morning, and it just gives you some protection about what you're sending out and some quantitative measure about what you're sending out. So from here, I'm going to label my stallion. This is Monty, our teaser stallion, who performs in all of our webinars. Straight through into semen packaging. So from here, it asks for your dilution ratio. So I've put in 1 to 9 for this. Pam, is that right? Do you know? Yes. Yeah, so it's 1 to 9 for this sample. And you can add in your raw volume, so what your sample was when you collected it. You can edit these figures as much as you like. If you want to give a desired extended concentration of a bit less than that or a bit more than 50 million per mil or whatever you like, these are all things you can change, the volume per dose, etc. So this has worked out, does all the calculations for you. Your raw sample was around about 336 million per mil, thereabouts. So it's a fabulous little piece of kit. If you don't want to use it for dosage calculation, that's absolutely fine. If you just want to use it for semen assessment, it's fine.
Did you save that then?
Yeah. So
go back and see where it's saved.
Yeah. So the good thing is about iSperm, it doesn't just analyse the semen and that's that. It saves all of the videos and all of the experiments that you do onto the iCloud. So if you head into data center, it will show you all the charting online, all the charting per animal. So like Monty will have 1 million entries on here. We do lots and lots of testing with Monty, and every single experiment is saved separately. So this is the one we've just done. And then there's one from, let's go right down here, pick a random Monty. So this is from June last year. So it records all the videos. You can look at them full screen. You can pull them up in real time. So again, if you wanted to compare a stallion's results from last year to this year, you've got video recording saved, ready to go. And we go back here onto animal list. Yeah, again, it saves it by animal, by experiment itself. So let's go to Monty's report. Now we save a lot of different stallions under Monty, so his graph is going to be a bit crazy, but you can change the axis of the graph and look at concentration over time, motility over time, anything like that. So it's a really good way of keeping records over what your stallion has performed over the years. So as you can see, this little graph of Monty, that's the concentration.
I have to admit, I'm learning some stuff tonight. I didn't even. So that graph just shows what he's been doing right through the season.
Yeah, so I can set the it by day, by month, by year, anything like that for concentration, motility, progressive motility. So it's a really, really good way of keeping track of a stallion's fertility over a whole season.
Hey, Desiree, did you realise I did all that? Maybe I just haven't been using it as much as I should do.
Well, the last time that Amy explained, I looked very good. So yes, I know this. And but the iSperm is amazing. I cannot do without. What I want to say, Amy, the warming. I always have my warming thing on. Yes, and that is something. Yeah, what's always necessary, of course. And it's not only for the stallion stud owners. I think it's also for the breeders. You know, when they're coming, the big breeders, if they have mares and they have a lot of semen coming in, always check the semen before, and you can do that fantastic with the iSperm because it's easy, it's small. You can take it with you everywhere.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, Desiree. So the most important thing, Desiree, is absolutely right, is the warming stage, which we've mentioned before. Your iSperm pack will come with a little heater. So this just slots onto the back of your iSperm, and it just plugs in with a USB charger. So I plug mine in a car charger in the car.
Do you want to do another one?
Yeah, we'll run another one. So and basically you plug this in, it heats up to 37 degrees, and it acts like a warm stage that goes on the iPad. So you can literally use this in the middle of a field. Because it's just on a USB and the iPad's on a USB, you can run it from a power pack like you would use with your phone. So it's about as portable as it's possible to be. And it really does offer that protection. If you're a mare owner that's ordered semen and you don't necessarily have a way to warm it up and look at it like we have here, it's a quick way of being able to visualise the sample before it goes in your mare. Well, you know, we've established how important that is today.
I'll just do another one.
Yeah.
So,
I have another question.
Yeah.
If it is for a mare stud, can they put also, like you did with your stallions, can they put the mares inside and make a line or something like an Excel on this to write down this mares get the semen of this stallion and on this date, this quality of semen, or no?
Like on as in like to keep a record of what's gone on to what mare?
So if I have a mare stud, I have 15 mares and I get from outside some semen of stallions. Can I make in the iPad something that I've seen the semen and I say it's okay, this semen I use for this and this mare? Like you have here your stallion inside.
Oh, like a graph?
The mare data. You talked about mare data.
I don't think so. I mean, there's a way that you can log notes for each sample. So it's not something that we do, but when you go through into the analysis side of things, there is a note section that you can fill in. We did for a while fill in like ambient temperature and things like that, just for trials that we were doing. In which case you can run through and add in mare data and whatever you want to in that way. But as far as logging mare data, I'm not so sure about that one, Bart. Possibly might be something to look into.
Okay.
Yeah, you've taken it away. We can't look at that one until we've taken it away.
Dilute it out a little bit more.
Yeah, so
I've got a question actually. So Catrian, hello Catrian, she said during the 4 calculations, we always see the motility dropping quite a lot. So we end up with a low average motility, even while they're using the warming tool. Why would that be, do you think? Is it on there too long?
Sometimes it can be that if your sample is in there for too long, it can, or almost I should say cook it, but it can heat it up.
Dry out. Yeah.
Really,
It can dry out, yeah.
That's what it can dry. It can dehydrate it. It's the same as if you were to leave it on a warm stage on a microscope for too long. Often that can affect the motility. Also, you have to be very, very careful with these because obviously it's quite a light piece of kit. At the beginning, if you put it on and you're immediately pressing buttons and there can be a shake on the iPad, it does tell you if you've moved it. But if you were to shake the iPad whilst it was running, it would tell you everything was motile, obviously, because you're moving it around. Sometimes if you've got some movement on it, it will give you a higher reading of motility, in which case then if you then turn it, wait and go, sometimes then that movement's gone and the motility can settle back out again. So it's important to make sure that it's still before it goes. So Tullis may have pressed that a little too soon then. It comes up with a little window at the top that says shake detected, stabilized device, basically. So make sure that you're not leaving it on your sample too long. Your iPad's nice and still in a quiet place. We even have problems. This is on the same desk as the centrifuge, and even the vibration from the centrifuge sometimes will tell it.
So we can show you on here actually, can't we? So we can do a demonstration. So we do an analysis on here and see how we can sort of zoom into this if we want to.
Can't while it's analysing. Hang on. So if I were to move this around, see up there, it says shake detected, make sure the table is stable. So it will help you as much as it can, basically, to not. But
if we do one and you start moving it, so that's 7%. Now you start move that thing around. No,
I will. Don't worry.
No,
it'll do it. Don't worry. So if we move it around, it will cause a problem. So that's gone up to 75. And it will tell you here, multiple issues, shake detected. So it will try and help you as much as it can. If there's a problem with the sample, it will flag up and say that there is a problem. Obviously, it can only view what you pop on it. So it's the same as what we looked at with the drops earlier, the differences between drops. Sometimes you can pull one drop out, test it, and it looks fantastic. You might pull another drop out and it looks awful. It's not so much that the iSperm is giving you bad results. It's just, you might have to test it a few times. Yeah, I can go again. Yeah, of course. So we'll show you one more time. You can just leave. There you go. I don't need too many Monties saving in the background. I've got lots of Monties. Okay.
So again, it's what size droplet?
7.5 microliters. So again, you need a little tap just to make sure you spread the drop out. It's only like, if you were to put more semen on the samples, say if you put 100 microliters on here, it would be like if you had put way too much on your slide. It can make the cover slip float. It can, all the semen's on top of each other. It's not going to give you a clear reading. Okay, let's run him again.
Just zoom in.
Yeah.
So you can see how.
Hang on. Focus is out. Wait. There you go.
So look at that quality there. It's incredible what the quality you can get from it.
And if you want to as well, we don't routinely do it with the iSperm, but you can do abnormality as well. So you can pause your screen, count your abnormality. You can adjust the focus to whatever you're comfortable with, basically. Pause it and count your abnormality, and it will record that as well alongside your sample. So we'll run this one as well, shall we? Just get him to focus again, because I've zoomed right in. There we go. So it's super quick. It doesn't need to be connected to Wi-Fi or anything like that. You can use it quite literally in the middle of nowhere. And then you can, as soon as you come back into the Wi-Fi, into the cloud, it will upload all of your videos into the cloud. You can download the videos onto your iPad itself, and then you can share those, email them out to clients, anything like that if you want to check results with anybody else.
And you turn it and do it again.
Yeah. So there's a little bubble on this one, so you might have a panic. So again, you want to try and avoid bubbles as much as you can. If you if you really shake up your sample and you get bubbles in it, it will affect the result.
Yes, that's got a bubble.
Yeah.
So it's quite a big difference.
Yeah. And this is another reason why we wash the stallions as well. If there's lots of debris in the samples and big lumps of dirt and bacteria and all things like that, it can affect the result. And that's the same way as if you were looking on a microscope and there was big chunks of things, the semen likes to head towards it. So
you can do an average.
Yeah. There you go. And so you can put it onto full screen. You can send these videos out to clients, anything like that. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions?
Yep, I've got a few. Go on. So Katrine has said, what about when you test the semen you've received? Can you put in the semen and get the results without adding info about the extender ratio, etc.? Or do you have to fill that in?
So the only reason you would need to know the extended ratio or any of those numbers is if you wanted to calculate doses. So if you've received a dose as a client and you want to put it in a mare, then all you need to do is the assessment side of things. So you can just do what I've done, pop it straight onto your sample collector, pop it in your iSperm, run the sample, and it will give you motility, progressive motility, concentration. The only reason you would need the dilution ratio is if you then needed to work out dosage. So if you had a raw sample and you wanted to split it between mares, that's when you would need to know that information. But obviously you would know the information because you're the one that's collected the semen. To just analyse, you can just do it straight off what you've got.
Okay. Harriet has asked, do you recommend using iSperm to test each stallion's sperm a minimum number of times? If so, how many times?
By a number of times, what is that? I'm a bit lost there.
Might need to clarify that.
Yeah, might clarify.
And Bart and Desiree, you've used the iSperm for quite some time now. So what's your sort of, how do you feel how it works when you're using it?
I cannot do without. I almost sleep with it. No, really, it's yeah. I go to well, no, because I go to several studs and when I'm driving around, and I cannot do without the iSperm. And I have to say the concentration. A lot of stud farms in the Netherlands have the sperma queue, where you can only use it with raw semen for the concentration. And I always, that's the one. But you have to be also be aware. And I think the concentration with the iSperm is so precisely and so it's really good. So I use the iSperm every day. I cannot do without. Really, it's so good. Yeah.
No. And Bart?
So I don't use it so much, only if I'm in Colombia or somewhere around the world, because there I have no nuclear counter. But if I check here, I make almost the time the check with the nuclear counter, and then they are quite similar. If the nuclear counter say something about 300, he will say almost the same. It's not a big difference. So therefore, you can check by counting by yourself. I can check by the nuclear counter. And if you work, like you say, you work properly with this, it's very, very exactly to use.
Yeah.
And we did we did a load of Clydesdales up in Scotland for a year or so ago. Couldn't take all our equipment, so we did the iSperm. We did, I think, about 20 or 30 collections. I think there's one that may be out, that may be my own fault. We came back and put it all through the same equipment here, and I was amazed how accurate it is. For a sort of a 2,000, what's just under £2,000, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Just under £2,000 bit of kit. It really can give you some great results. So you back to that question.
I was just going to say, Amanda is in Canada and she wants to know where she can buy one.
Hi, Kat. This must be, it must be in the middle of the day for you, Amanda, in Canada, actually. I think the best thing is send us an email and give us a call. Oh, you can't do poll questions as well, can you?
Not from here. I
No.
can go back and do it. don't have octopus arms.
So do you want to go and put your
Yeah,
poll questions? I'll finish off about the case. Was there anything else you wanted to go through about the iSperm before we go?
No, not really. No, we absolutely love it here, and it takes a bit of practice to get used to, like anything. But once you get going,
What would you say? Because get something that said, "Oh, I find it difficult sometimes to use this." What's usually the reason for this?
A lot of the time, it's pipetting issues that are a problem with it. So generally, people don't come into contact with pipettes like this on a day-to-day basis. We obviously have them in abundance here. And obviously there's a way to do this without the pipette. You can use the droppers and pop them in the cup and click your cap in that way. But the most accurate way to use it is with a pipette. And a lot of it, it's just practice, 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 practice. And, you know, don't be disheartened if you are pulling up drops that are all different every time. It does take a long time to learn how to do what we do the way that we do it. So once you get practicing with it and get going, it's become second nature. And as I say, we're lucky here, we've got so much semen in abundance to use and practice with all the time that we can just get it working straight away. But definitely, if you have any problems at all, any queries, any questions, just ring us or drop us an email, because I'm always on hand to help with anything like this. And generally, if I can't fix it, I can find somebody that can. So we're always happy to help.
And the beauty about this CASA system in particular, different to the others, it's the same. It's got the same algorithms in the background. So some of the other ones you can change and alter. So we see some figures coming from other CASA systems. They say the sperm is like 80%, whereas you can clearly look at it and it's not, because sometimes you can change their algorithms. You can't. It's difficult to do that with this.
Yeah, they make it very, very clear. Please don't alter the algorithm unless you know what you're doing. Please don't alter the algorithm.
And so it should be the same all over the world when you're analysing semen. So there's a few fundamentals, and sometimes you do get an airdrop in there, and sometimes you have to do it again, and bits and pieces of that. But
that's the same with what we do on the
so repeatable. It's so repeatable, time after time. So, right. So I'll explain what's in the box. If you want to, can you put up the poll question about who's got an iSperm, who would like one, and that.
Of course, yeah.
Right. Thank you, Amy. Thanks very much for that. So while Amy's off, it comes in this pretty handy case now. The iSperm does. So you've got a table that you can put it on there. It comes with all the equipment that you have on there as well, and it comes with the case, obviously the manual, the heater stage, the light source, and a load of chips as well. Already in it. The only thing that you've got to buy is the mini iPad off. Mini iPad 6. Sorry, I'm getting the flag up saying special offer. Remember, it's £150 off if you buy one or put your order in up till Saturday night. So that's quite a lot off, really. Yeah, it's a good chunk off. So if you do want one, I think they're around about £2,000 this, or just under. So, and the beauty about what we've got good backup, whether it be from Desiree or Bart or ourselves, all that. Yeah, can you put that question up now? Have you already done it?
Who has an iPad?
Who has an iPad? Right, okay. Right, it'll be interesting to see on that side. All right, so quite a few people interested, that's good. Yeah, so there's quite a few people out there that have got it. And I say, if you need any more help, let us know on that. Right, moving on. So we've done a little bit on semen assessment. We've done a little bit on the iPad. Oh, that's your list, is it? Where's my list? Right. So I think moving on really for when we're shipping chilled semen out, I think Bart, you briefly spoke to us about this, Bart, didn't you? About how much semen do you generally send out when you're sending out chilled semen? What's the sperm dose?
So normally, if it's just go to the breeders and the customers, we send out with 600 million progressive semen, 600 million in total in one dose of 13 ml. But I have some vets who I know they have a lot of experience with deep insemination, and therefore we make small doses. That means they get only 1.5 ml, with each ml of 200 million. And then they can do this with deep insemination. So normally we make a concentration dose on each straw with 100 million, and then they get 1.5 ml, so 3 straws, and they do deep insemination.
Yeah,
But-
can you put up slide 18, Amy, on there, because Bart's talking about his low volume insemination, and that they might be able to see that. So I'll put you on the spot now, Amy, see how quickly you can get through these slides. And why do you think this sort of works so well with some mares, Bart? Is it more the mares or the stallion side?
Yeah, it's both. It is. I think one of the best reasons is for the stallion owner. He can use less semen to get more mares pregnant. And for the mare's owner, it's important because the mares don't need to be to work with so much of fluid what they have to clean and to do. So if you have a mare who has any problems somewhere around to get pregnancy, then if you put deep insemination with very less fluid, it might be give less reaction, so they might be stay clean and get better results in pregnancy.
How many millions of sperm cells have you got in here, Bart? In that tube? Can you see?
In one straw, so in 500,000, 100 sperm cells, 100 million.
But what about in this one? Can you see that on the slide there now? I don't know if you can see it in front of you. We've got a picture of your Effendorf tube on there. Do you know what?
The Eppendorf, if it's full, it's 1.5 ml. So it's 3 straws with each 100 million. So at the end, it's 300 millions. It's a half dose for shipping. So normally, if you inseminate at home, you can do only with 1 straw.
And how many have you done this way?
How many what?
How many times have you done this? Have you done it a few times or a lot?
Since 10, 15 years we do with about 10,000 mares and with a really, really high pregnancy rate.
So it's not just on a couple of mares then that we're doing it. It's on.
It's a couple of mares, but quite a lot of couple.
Yeah, you can take it off the screen now, Amy. Yeah. So that's when you're sending a sort of a chilled dose out. If you look at, if you can put slide 16 up, Amy, please. We tend to send out. It depends. We want to be sending out. We quite often send out a minimum of 1 billion sperm cells, but as you can see from this slide, it does vary from stallion to stallion. You can see this one particular stallion, we have to send out quite a lot because he's got quite a lot of abnormalities before we get those pregnancy results. But this is really a stallion with poor morphology, and we had to sort of make the sperm numbers up on this. But generally, if you go onto the next, onto the slide 14, Amy, on this next one. Yeah, these sort of World Breeding Federation, they normally sort of recommend, for fresh semen, normally 300 million, but when you're sending it out, you usually send about 600 million. So, because you expect half of that to maybe die off during that period of time. With the frozen semen side, but how do you sort of work out what a dose of semen should be on the frozen side?
So on the frozen side, I work with the two things, viability and motility. And if these two are more than 35, I make a dose and for selling. If it is less, then maybe I can keep for ICSI or I throw it away. So I don't bring it out for selling, because if it's less 35%, the quality is not good enough to give away. because then the pregnancy rate will not be that good, and that is just better give away or throw away, that you don't get problems with the customers.
Yeah,
So
and
35% or more.
and Desiree?
And yeah, the same, and a concentration about 250 in total.
250 what?
Millions.
250 million progressively motile.
It's progressive 35, progressive motile, at least. That's the minimum. And then I rather before, of course, you want to have 40 at least, but and maybe 50, but in total cells are 250 progress motile.
Right, okay. Any questions, Faye?
I've got quite a few. We've got Shirley, who said she was always taught 500 mils in a dose. Has it changed to 600?
500 million. 500 million. No, it's at the time of AI. So Shirley, yes, it's 500 million. We were always told over here. So we put a billion in because then half it will die off. But that was always a bit of an overkill. You can get away with obviously less than that. So you can put 600 million at point of shipping to have that 300 million at point of insemination. If you can put slide 8 on, please, Amy. When it comes to frozen semen, this will show you, we'll see in a second, what it can vary obviously from stallion to stallion. So this particular stallion here, you've got 350 million progressively motile sperm in a frozen semen dose. He was getting 41% of his mares in foal. When we dropped it to 300 million, you can see the percentage drop with the mares that we're using. But then if you go on to slide 9, move on to the next one, you'll see on this one, it's most probably more of an average stallion here. And you can see here whether it was 250 million progressively motile sperm or even 200. And actually, when he's got 50 million in there, he's still getting 7% of his mares in foal for cycle. So this is, this is like a lot of stallions are with this. So this just shows how well it frozen semen, when you get good quality, good viability, and all these characteristics put in together, it can make a huge difference on that. So any other questions?
We've got some on the iSperm, which I think Amy is answering as well, but others. Harriet's asked, how does semen vary between breeds of stallions? We see it, especially when it comes to rare breeds. Sometimes the quality can be different. The age of the stallion, it can make a big difference. The older the stallion, they go through something called testicular degeneration. And we can see that those stallions need flushing out. Do you tend to flush the stallions out much, Desiree, before you start freezing? What's your sort of rule on that?
Yeah, always. And some stallions need to flush out more than other stallions. But I prefer to do 2 weeks before freezing to flush them out a couple of times. So 6 times covering before freezing. Yeah.
We've got quite a few stallions at the moment. We've had one here now. It's taken us, I think, about 4 or 5 or maybe 6 collections to actually flush him out. He started off, his viability was actually on day 1 was about 20%, I think, Pam, wasn't it? It was really low, maybe even lower than that, wasn't it?
About
18%. Then it went up to, and we flushed him out, and it went up to 25%, then 30%, and it was only towards the end. Now I think was it 70% today? Except today, after about 6 collections, he's up to 70% viability. Here we're talking about viability a lot of the time. Yes, we're looking at motility as well, but we want to get that viability up. We want to get that cell membrane structure, and that's flushing that stallion out. I know, Bart, you don't even look at the semen the first couple of times, do you?
No, I've had now one thing. The big boss, he wants to freeze one stallion because he was sold and he wants to keep some semen. So I have to hurry up. So I collect him on one day, in the morning, in the middle, in the evening, to flush him out, throw it away, check the next day, the next collection. So it was the 3rd collection because I have to be very fast. And I looked at it, and we say, okay, we try to freeze, and it is like you said, the first time we freeze, it was only 30%. And then the day after we freeze again, we were at 40%. Then we give him 1 day off, and then we freeze again, and then he was already at 50%. So that makes a lot of sense to really flesh out the stallions and to work with it. Not on this way, 3 times a day, it's not the rule, but okay, if you are in a hurry, you can do for 1 time.
Yeah, when we had
Makes sense.
Yeah, and this stallion was giving us a lot of sperm cells, like he was giving sort of 30 billion, wasn't he? 30 billion. And we were just really flushing him out. So, flushing out, I think, but every stallion's, as you'll know, is different, isn't it? And you have to treat slightly differently, but if you put up slide 12, Amy. So this is just a bit of a recap. I know you were asking before, Shirley, about it. So a chilled semen, a fresh semen at point of insemination, ideally wants a minimum of 300 million progressively motile sperm. Chilled semen, ideally wants a minimum of 600 million at point of AI. You'd like the 300 million again, because half it might die off. I must admit, we always say send out the billion, and that's what we generally do. People are going to do things slightly differently, but that's sort of the industry standards. And with frozen semen, we always like to have that 250 million progressively motile sperm in that dose, with a minimum of 35% progressively motile sperm. So, but this very much, as you see, can be stallion dependent. So one stallion might need a bit more, and we know some of ours, I mean, like Big Star, I think he has 1 straw insemination, so it's like 150 million per straw, isn't it? So 300 million per male, but 150 million per straw. Yeah. He can get away with a lot more. So what's the ultimate? Well, the ultimate test. What's the ultimate test of fertility? Would you say, Desiree?
Excuse one time more. I didn't.
What would you say is normally the ultimate test of fertility when it comes to everything? We can do all this work, but what normally tells you whether that stallion's fertile or not? Usually.
Oh, the mare. The mare. Yeah,
the
if the mare is pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah. It is so true. We've got all the bells and whistles in this lab. We've got 30 years. I think between the 3 of us, we've most probably got about 90 years of experience of catching off stallions, and the mare still is the one key to it. The other thing is morphology. So viability is a bit like the same as morphology. In a sense, we want to look at the makeup of sperm. Can you put slide 21 on, Amy? So you can see here the anatomy of a sperm cell, where you've got sort of the head, the mid piece, and the tail. And it's quite important to look at the structures of this. If you go to the next slide on 22, you can see all these abnormalities on here, and there's so many different abnormalities on here. I don't know whether it's on my other slide yet, but I don't want to jump about a bit. Let's just have a look. Oh yes, I'll just give you an interesting fact actually. If you go on to slide number 2. And this just shows what's happening on the semen quality over the years. We had a student that came and looked at sort of 11,000 ejaculates over 1,000 different stallions, and it was quite worrying what looking at the semen quality was like. That's it. You can see on here, over 20 years, the semen quality's dropped by 10%, and it's this is a big data study. This is. And we're looking into the environmental side. You think this is bad? If you go on to slide number 3, this is the human side. So I was quite shocked by this. I don't know, Desiree and Bart, I don't know whether you know about this, but we're looking at, we want to see sort of 50% morphologically normal sperm and above, ideally. Human sperm cells got 4 to 6% morphologically normal. I mean, if that was in a stallion, we'd all pack up and go home, wouldn't we? Did you know it was? Have you heard of this before, Desiree? How bad human sperm is? I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, actually, from you the last time when we were in Ghent, you showed us the same. Yeah.
And look at the decline over the last sort of, what is it, 50 years. So, but we've got all these new techniques in when we're doing it. So that's yeah. So if you go back to slide 23, please. Oh, you got fixed. There we go. So when we're doing staining, so we can stain these sperm cells. Do you stain the sperm? Do you look at morphology much, Desiree, or just really use the nuclear cell counter most of the time?
No, morphology rate I check a lot. Yeah.
So what stain do you use? Niclosamine stain, do you?
I use Eocene.
Yeah.
That's what I use, and just a droplet, and then mix it together, and then check the morphology rate. And if the morphology rate, if you have a lot of head problems, it's actually the same as the viability, of course, but head problems are, that is most the indication that the stallion is not as fertile as it should be.
Can you go to the next slide, Amy, and then Desiree might be able to see this. So you can see these problems here. And some of these stains, they can really show up very well. What would you really want to see in a stallion? Would you want it more than 50%, or what would you really want to see morphologically normal?
Morphologically more than 50%, if it's possible. Yeah.
That's it. So you can see the stain. What the stain does here, it takes up the ones. Oh, Amy, we're going a bit too fast now. That's it. Amy. Yeah. That's it. Go through. And the next one. That's it. So you can see the ones that are morphologically abnormal, they take up the stain. So the ones that are obviously looking a white colour are okay. So what you tend to do is count 100 of these to start with, just looking at the ones that are taking up the stain to the ones that haven't. And that tells you what is live and dead. So you can see at the top left-hand corner of your screen, you've got 50% there live and 50% dead. And then you go back through the live ones and just look to see if they're morphologically okay. Because they might be not taking up the stain, but they might have a bent tail or a swelling. And you can see the ones on the right hand of the screen, all the abnormalities. And you want to really be seeing how many of these. And if you go on to the next slide, if you're really lucky, you can start looking at fluorescence. So these are quite sort of nice pictures of where you can fresh the sperm heads and look at the mid pieces and look at the tails and so on like that. We've been very lucky with some of our slides. I don't know where my other pieces of paper are. Can you put the one a bit lower down here? Slide 3, I think it is. These are some really cool pictures when you're looking at more morphologically abnormal. Look at that. So we've been very lucky with Nottingham Trent University. Pam's been working with this, and we can look really close now into these sperm cells. You can look at this double header, how it's stuck together. And you can see a line that's dividing the two. And if you go on to the next slide, and you can see these tiny little droplets. We're still trying to find out what these tiny little droplets at the head of the sperm cell are. Is it part of the extender? Is it part of the sperm makeup? Our goal is, what we'd like to do is have a frozen product as good as a fresh product. If you go on to the next slide, we can get right in detail. So soon we're going to, what's your next part of the course in this? I think we're going to start chopping them in half, aren't we? Have a look.
We're going to single mount them. So we're going to mount the sperm cells singly first, just so we can have a really good look at it, and then we can look at them in really more detail than that. But at the moment, we're just trying to work out how amazing the pictures are. Just everything.
So thank you, Amy, for showing that. So basically, I think we're sort of wrapping up. We've gone through how we analyse semen on a slide. How we use the iSperm, and how we do morphology. But generally, when you're looking at sperm cells, you know, when you get a fresh product, ideally you want it above sort of 60% odd. Anything below 30% straight away is going to be considered as a low motility. Anything below 100 million sperm cells per mil is going to be considered slightly, it's going to be low concentration, unless the average stallion gives you between 7 and 10 billion sperm cells. So those ones that are giving you, you know, 2 or 3 billion sperm cells are going to be really on the lower end of the threshold. So you want those above sort of 50 or 60% with good motility and good morphology. Yeah, another trait, a stallion will give you between 150 to 250 million sperm per mil, and he will average give you about 50 mils in a collection. But the main thing is knowing what the quality is like and what the viability is like will tell you an awful lot of the story whether you're going to get good pregnancy results. So Bart, I'll start with, is there anything you want to sort of add to that if someone's looking at semen? One thing we should say is that obviously with the iSperm and things, if you have got a mare, if you have got several mares at your place and the semen's coming in, we're saying before how the iSperm can really help you with analysing your semen. So it's not just for stallion owners, it's for you mare owners out there as well. But Bart, is there anything else you want to add to, if you're looking at semen, is there any tips or tricks or anything else that you, some of the basics that we should be doing?
To prepare, or what you mean?
Is there any, when you're looking at semen under the microscope or anything when you're analysing semen, is there anything else we should be looking for? What's your sort of go-to? What really, when you look at semen, what's the sort of things that stands out to you that says this semen is going to hopefully get good pregnancy results?
So what I say in the beginning is we check, we get the semen, we check. First of all, we try to get the semen collected from a stallion who is in a normal mood, not stressed, not anything else, that we get the most good semen of him. Then if we get the semen, we want to go through, try to get the work on one line. That means we get the semen at 37 degrees out of the stallion. So it goes down to room temperature, goes down to 4 degrees, that we do one line, that we don't make too much shaking in the temperature, that we don't make too much influence from the outside in the sperms, what can be negative. So try to do as proper as well. And then finally you get what you get and give the semen. You give, you check which extender you can use, or the stallion tells you which extender you should use, because not every extender is for each stallion the same. And then finally, you have to choose what for you need, if it is fresh or chilled, or if you freeze. And then therefore you make your decision and make the dose.
Okay, thank you, Bart, on that. Just before we go on to Desiree, there's one other poll question. Amy, would you be interested in attending a training day for the iSperm? It would be live in person here at Stallion AI. So yes, no, or more information. Obviously, we can always do one virtually as well if you want to do it.
If there are a lot, we can do one in Holland or Germany also.
Yeah.
Desiree, I think you can do also.
Oh, I'd love to do it. Yeah. Sure.
So
I think it might be interesting also for, not only for England, also for Holland and Germany.
Definitely, yeah. So if you can put that as a poll question, is that gone up? I've done it already. Okay. And so, yeah, if you'd like to express their interest. And we're going to put on the board in a minute, anybody who's interested in speaking to Bart or Desiree or myself, we're going to put our contact details in a minute. So get your phones at the ready. Slight problem if you're watching it on your phone at the same time, but get someone else's phone.
Screenshot.
So yeah, screenshot. All right. Screenshot it. We're going to put the details of Desiree and Bart and myself on there in a minute. So sort of a take-home message. Desiree, if you're analysing semen, what's your sort of go-to? What's your sort of 2 or 3 pointers which you would say is really important when you're doing semen assessment?
Yeah, when you do semen assessment, of course, the motility rate is very important. The viability, I think it's much more important. But what I want to give to all the stallion stud owners, know your stallion and work with it. You know, if a stallion is not good for everyday collection, then take him 3 times a week, so the quality stays a little bit equal. And yeah, it's always check the semen, always assist the semen where if before insemination, after collection, before freezing, after freezing, and so you can directly process something if something went wrong to get the quality as high as possible.
Thank you. And just to let you know, in the UK, we are, Stallion AI Services is now the official distributor of this. Just so you know, we were with obviously another company, ERS, but we are the official distributors of the iSperm. So contact us direct with that at Stallion AI. And obviously, if you're abroad, obviously contact Bart and Desiree that you can see on there. Shirley said that she wants to come on a course, but it's got to involve a lot of alcohol and an overnight stay. So I look forward to that, Shirley, as always.
I think, Bart, we have to go to England.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Oh yeah, I have to. I want to go for skydiving.
I've got a word of warning. I don't think either of you have met Shirley.
Wear the toffee vodka.
Yeah, she drinks toffee vodka, and there's going to be a good night to have. You can definitely guarantee it's going to be with Shirley. We've always got to give a good shout out to Brenda and Studs. They're always great supporters, I have to admit. So, but yeah, I just want to definitely make sure if you're looking for the iSperm, don't go through the old contact that used to be. It's actually all through us now at Stallion AI Services. We are the official distributor in the UK for this. And obviously abroad, if you want to speak to Bart or Desiree, they'll certainly help you. We are offering £150 off the iSperm up to Saturday, I think it's the 26th of November. This Saturday, yes, and it's 2022. So anyway, try and push that one out. So really got to thank, is there any more questions come in, Faye, before?
No, Shirley just says toffee vodka rules.
Yes. But I really got to thank everyone for watching again. We've had a huge, the other thing, what we would love to hear from you, what else do you want to see? I think we should do one maybe on epididymal or something like that. I don't know.
Tullis and trousers.
We can bring some ideas. I know I can speak, I think I speak from you, Desiree and Bart, that we love doing these webinars. We've got so much more to give. This is a very precise webinar we're doing. So can you put the 3 of us on the screen, Amy, if possible, in one go? That's it, yeah. So it's great to, am I speaking? Do I get a thumbs up, Bart? Is that, you enjoy doing these and want to do more of these? And Desiree?
Of course, yeah.
So send your idea, and just remember, Desiree and Bart, they're always on the end of a phone. If you've got tricky stallions or if you're doing setups or anything like that, we love doing this. All 3 of us love. We're very passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
I've got to thank, obviously, NAF 5-star Fertility for sponsoring tonight. Their supplement does work incredibly well, and we're not quite coming up to, well, it's coming up to Christmas now. So really, starting after Christmas, we've got to start thinking about putting this. Now, I think we do. Our next one is preparing your stallion. I know we've done it before, but there's so many other things that I was speaking to Bart before about lights and all these other things that we could be talking about pre-season. So maybe we'll do something at the end of January or something about preparing your stallion. We might do another live collection or something in the collection area. So, and don't forget, obviously, the iSperm. So thank you, Pam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faye. Thank you, India, behind the screen. And obviously, Amy was on tonight with the iSperm. We're only at the end of the phone. We're always at the end of the phone. But really, to thank, not but least, is obviously my good friends, Bart and Desiree. You really are true, amazing people. fantastic on your so thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Tullis. Yeah.
And hopefully, can you just put that one more slide up before you go of the details, Amy, just before we go. So if people want to take a picture of that, they can contact any of us before you go. Sorry? Oh, yes. Thank you. And don't forget the Nature's Safe. If you've had a good night, if you can donate £5 to Nature's Safe, it goes. Oh yes, it's got about the Christmas cards. God, I'm gonna get shot for them. You can go on the website Nature's Safe, and we're doing some Christmas cards and we're doing some mugs as well. So if you haven't bought your Christmas cards, Shirley, if you haven't bought my Christmas card yet, you can get one from Nature's Safe and send it that way. I'll send you a mug down as well. So a big thank you to everybody, and we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Have a good Christmas. I know it's quite early, it's only November saying that, well, it's nearly December, and we'll see you in the new year sometime. So it's a good night from me, and it's a good night from everybody else. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.